Yo, what's going on guys, Arekkz here and welcome back to another Monster Hunter World video. And today, after many requests, I'm finally getting back to the top 5 weapons series. I started this a while back where I go over what my personal top 5 weapons are for a particular weapon type. So far I've covered charge blades, bows and switch axes, but then things got a little bit busy and I didn't quite finish it. A lot of you have then asked me if I'll ever get around to doing the rest, so today we're going to take a look at my top 5 longswords. It actually worked out pretty well that I left it so long, as there have been some new weapon additions since launch and some of those are actually in my top 5. So for those of you still looking for stuff to craft or try out, then here are my personal top 5 longswords. Keep in mind this is just my list, yours may differ, and at the end of the day you should just use whatever you like, even if you pick a weapon purely because it looks cool. But again, if you want something to work towards, then these are some good picks. Also, don't forget you can grab the Arekkz Gaming t-shirt right now if you haven't done so already. The link to the store is in the description box down below. Now, let's get started. Coming in at number 5, we have the Wyvern Blade Holly. This is the final form Rathian longsword, relatively easy to craft and also a good weapon to work towards early game. I appreciate with the game being out for quite a while now, early game isn't as relevant, but if you are starting out, maybe you picked up Monster Hunter late, or maybe you're watching this ahead of the PC release next month, then this is a solid weapon to work towards. It's part of the Iron Tree, so you can upgrade to it relatively early on from the base Iron Katana found in your box at the beginning of the game. Additionally, it also has an option to craft directly into the Rathian tree, so good if you perhaps want to pick it up a little bit later. It has 627 base attack, which is actually pretty good for a longsword. It's not the highest, but it is up there near the top, so definitely a solid base. And then on top of that, you have a whopping 330 poison, which is a great abnormal status effect. It's one of those things that you can just get passive value out of. You don't really have to think about it or play in any particular way, it's just some nice bonus damage that can tick over in the background. It also has 10% affinity, a level 1 slot, 2 augment slots given that it's a rarity 7 weapon, and if you have handicraft level 3 and above, you can also get white sharpness. So if you tie it all together, strong base raw, augment slot for attack, positive affinity, and the potential for white sharpness, you really do have a very solid and easy to craft weapon. Then moving on from there to number 4, we have the Nogagante Longsword Extermination's Edge. And in truth, if I'd made this video a few months back, this likely would have been much higher up the list for me, but in light of the recent additions, it's now number 4. It has 693 base attack, which is one of the highest in the longsword tree. Again, not the absolute max, but solid nonetheless. It also has 120 dragon attack, high elder seal, a level 1 slot, and only 1 augment slot since it's rarity 8. It also has a big chunk of blue sharpness, but that's unfortunately as high as it's going to go. No amount of handicraft will give you white, but at least you can fight comfortably knowing that it will be a good while before you need to sharpen. Having high Elder Seal is definitely a really useful thing when fighting Elders. I did a video a while back on exactly what Elder Seal does, and while it might not seem like you need it, it can still make a noticeable difference in combat. Then on top of that, in a similar vein to the Rathian Longsword, it's also relatively easy to make, and even the earlier form of this weapon is a great option for working through those Elder battles. Next up, in at number 3, we have the Devil Joe Longsword, REAVER CALAMITY. Definitely one of the coolest looking longswords in the game, at least in my opinion, and also an entry that wasn't present when the game first launched. It has the highest base raw at 759, making it a very powerful option. It also has high dragon attack at 210, higher than the Nogagante Longsword, high Elder Seal, again making it good for those Elder battles, and being rarity 7, you also have 2 augment slots too. The one downside is that it does have negative 25% affinity, which is something you want to deal with, but given the amount of affinity boosting skills you have easy access to, and those augment slots, this isn't really an issue. Additionally, you only need handicraft level 1 to get a thin slither of white sharpness, so while more handicraft will of course give you more white, you could get that thin slither and then run protective polish to make it last a little longer. But all up, this is a very strong longsword, offering both high base raw and also high dragon attack for those monsters weak to that. Pair that with the white sharpness and you have a nice recipe for damage. Next up, in at number 2, another new addition to the game, this time from the most recent monster edition, Lunastra. We have the EMPRESS sword STYX. This is the Xeno'jiiva variant of the Lunastra longsword, and honestly it's fast becoming one of my favourite longswords in the game. Yes, the base raw isn't as high as the other offerings, coming in at 594, but it does have natural white sharpness, positive 10% affinity, 240 blast, a whopping 2 level 3 decoration slots, and to top it all off, being a Lunasjiiva mix, it comes with natural razor sharp. As a reminder, razor sharp halves the rate at which your weapon loses sharpness, meaning you can stay in white for longer. Sure, the natural white is only small, but you can throw in some extra points in handicraft if you want to boost that up too. Additionally, while it's a shame that the Lunastral weapons are again ultimately built on the iron base model, I do still really like the blue colour blade on this one, so as weapons go, this does actually look pretty cool. Then finally, in number 1, I'm sure you all saw this one coming, but we have the Arena Longsword, the Divine Slasher. This is a weapon that has been around in Monster Hunter for quite some time, so it has a nostalgic link too, but more important than that, it's just a really good weapon. Might be a little bit harder to make, depending on how you feel about the arena, but it's well worth the time and effort if you do make it. It has 693 base attack, 0% affinity, 1 level 3 decoration slot, plus 20% bonus defense, 1 augment slot, and if you want it, it also has 150 dragon element and high elder seal. But in truth, the reason you pick this weapon isn't so that you can run free element and awaken that. The reason is so that you can throw an elementalist jewel in to further boost the base attack, and what you're left with is an exceptionally powerful longsword. Furthermore, with handicraft level 3 or above, you can also get white sharpness, so when you tie this all together, it's no wonder this is a fan favourite for a lot of people. Additionally, since it's raw damage focused, you can use it on anything, since you're not really going to be worried about a monster's elemental weakness. So definitely, without question, a very good longsword. Now to round it out, I always like to call out an honourable mention, a weapon that I really like, but one that ultimately didn't make the top 5. And in the case of the longsword, that is the Legiana Longsword, the Legia Stela. It doesn't have the highest base raw, but it does have natural white sharpness, and it's also got a nice 360 ice attack. But in truth, what makes me love this weapon is simply the way that it looks. Legiana is definitely one of my favourite new monsters in World, and a lot of the Legiana weapons are just visually striking, and it's for that reason that I love this weapon. It's definitely not a bad weapon, not by a long shot, but it's also not something I put in my absolute top 5. Of course, outside of that, you do also have the new Kulve weapons as well, and there are some exceptional picks amongst those, but honestly, there are so many of them, some of which I haven't even been fortunate enough to get myself, so for now, I'll leave it there. Those are my personal top 5 longswords in Monster Hunter World. Let me know what you guys think down below. Is your top 5 different? Do you have any favourites that I didn't mention? Either way, let me know. Of course, if you enjoyed the video, then a like would be super appreciated, and thank you very much for watching. Take it easy, catch you next time, peace out.